Right, we're on the old Pad Lake, one of the lakes down on the Yateley complex, and we've come down to see Colin Walford, scattered baits consultant. Colin was actually on the garlic and black pepper last year, done alright, bagged the fully on it, but we want to go a little bit more into this season. He set his sights very highly on the peach common, another one of his Sutton targets. And in all fairness, he ain't got many more to go, and the old red card's looming for Colin on Sutton. But it was mad in the close season when I started rolling Colin's bait up. Just as a little joke, I just put on the bag, come on the peach common. So I'm going to pass you over to Colin now, and Colin's going to tell his side of the story and his thought behind the anchovy and scattered baits. And let's just have a brief chat with Colin.
Cheers, John. Well, as the anchovy, I'd already seen it. We'd done a little trip to Jerry's Lake last year.
That's right, yeah.
And you had a few bags of it, and I had to stick my nose in it and find out what it was all about. So I knew that it was a definite winner.
I think I said at the time this would be a bait that would work really well on Sutton. I knew it hadn't been seen on Sutton. It wasn't one of the ones I'd fished with on Suttons. So yeah, we both sort of agreed that I think on Sutton it was going to do the damage.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's just got that aura and that aroma about it that you know that it is. It's just a big fish bait. It's a great big fish bait, and fortunately I managed to bag my target fish at the start of the season,
which we're going to talk about the build up to now. Yeah. That morning.
That was all a good year and a half in coming. I was the season before, when obviously I'd had the fully on the garlic and black pepper, and I'd had a few of the others as well. And I started to think about the peach common because I knew it was going to be over 40, and it's a lovely looking fish. I mean, it's an absolute stunner, and you've got to have it in your photo album, and you've had it yourself a couple of times, and you know, a few other people have had it.
Not at £40. That fish has grown a lot since I caught it. But yeah, it is definitely one that you want in your album.
It's a must for any of the Sutton regulars. I mean, you know, a few boys are looking for it now, you know. But his previous captures had come from the gate swim and the trees.
Yeah.
And a couple of times I'd missed them 2 or 3 captures, but certain times a year, you know, sort of the back end of the summer, you know that it's going to come from those sort of swims. So I spent a hell of a lot of the time, and through the winter as well, targeting those 2 swims, mainly the gate, because I just had a funny, well, I thought it might come from the gate. That was its last capture when Dan had it, and it was nearly 44 pound. So you know, you're chasing a monster common. But it was something in the back of my mind that it might come from the trees.
Yeah.
You know, I knew of one spot in the trees that it's done a capture before.
Quite a tricky swim, an older tree swim.
Yeah, definitely.
I know, like, just brief touch on Tell, when he first come on there, Tell spent quite a bit of time in the trees. It is a very, very tricky swim to get a bite. Always see him now. Trying to catch him from there can be a bit awkward.
Oh, you can see oodles in front of there sometimes, and you've got a massive amount of gravel and features in front. Plenty of little gullies in between the 2 or 3 bars that are in front of that swim, but you know, it's spotty.
Yeah.
And you've got to find, and it takes some time. You know, I've been on Sutton for 7 odd years now, on and off. I don't get a great deal of time to fish, but you know, really getting into trying to chase those big fish.
Yeah. But that morning, it all fell into place, mate, didn't it?
Well,
really?
yeah, it was the day before my birthday, so it was a real good birthday present. There was about half a dozen, 8 of us on the gate, on the draw.
Yeah.
So 4 o'clock start on the draw, and the night before I was in the bar swim, and the wind had just swung round, real light, sort of westerly, southwesterly wind, and a lot of the fish had moved out in front of the trees, and there was a new member in there. And I think he'd had a couple of snotties and a couple of bream, and I just sat there, and the more I looked, the more I thought, oh, I really want to be in there in the morning. Fortunately, I came second out the hat. Yeah. And then because my mate Keith went in the hole, and he pulled my ticket out, and I was like, result, I'm going in the trees.
Yeah.
And baits out, kettle was put on, and we sat there for a good hour, and we was just starting to chat about some of the fish, and we started chatting about the peach. And Keith had caught a 32.5 pound common, a couple of days previously from the point,
Right.
and he showed me the pictures, and it was, it worried me because it looked like the peach.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it can't be that low in weight.
Yeah.
It was an absolute stunner of a common, and I got my iPhone up and I was looking at the pictures on the iPhone, and we had both cameras and the iPhone now, and we were trying to, and there was a couple of little things that we went, and I thought, oh, it's not the peach,
Yeah,
you know, thank
not,
God for
yeah.
that. And all the while we was doing this, I was getting liners. Nothing had shown until about an hour into the morning, and I had one fish roll over my right hand bait. And
Did you put much bait out that morning, Cole?
I think I'd probably given over both spots the best part of a kilo.
Right, about
Of mixed sizes. I love using mixed size baits, and I think it was sort of a few pouchfuls of chops,
Yeah.
and 16s, 18s, and 20 millers,
Yeah.
and I think it confuses them, to be honest.
Yeah, they've got
a
to
little
adjust
bit.
that suction all the time. They're
Yeah.
not just picking up a one standard size bait. Each
No.
suction of bait, they have to re-alter the way that they're going to take the bait up off the bottom. So yeah.
I've always sort of tried to fish like that, especially on a place as difficult as Sutton, and I'm doing it here as well on the pads. You know, a couple of different sizes, and you know, so hopefully it'll work today or tomorrow for me. But back to that morning, me and Keith were sitting there, and the kettle was in full flow, and I had a couple of sort of small liners, and they were sort of breamy liners, and all of a sudden they stopped, and about 10 minutes later, what I call the big liners started, you know, and,
Yeah.
and the bobbin was just straight up and down, and you're sort of on the edge of your chair, you know, and I think it was just after 6 o'clock that morning, and we're still chatting away about the peach, and the bobbins just pulled up, and as I got to the rod, it just stayed there, and the line picked up out the water. I was like, that's not a liner, Keith. Leant into it. Really just glad that I'd nicked another take. I'd already had a couple of fish that week, so
Yeah.
I was really happy off the mark. And it didn't really do anything, and I got it in front of me, and it sort of kited towards one of the snags on the left-hand side, but it didn't really do anything.
Typical big fish just plodding about.
It didn't feel big though. That
No?
was the thing. It was. It rolled in front of me, and I saw it was a common, and I sort of stepped back, and Keith stepped right in front of me with the net,
Yeah.
and I said, "Get out of the way." I said, "I think it's a small common," and he went, "No," and he picked the net up and sunk the net. Anyway, I carried on plodding around, and it must have only played it for about 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then it came up and it started coughing a bit of water, and Keith was right bang in front of me by this time and stretching as far as he could with the net, and I just couldn't see anything, and he said, "That's it, it's in the net," and he just turned around to me and he went, "That's it, you've got the peach." I said, "Yeah, all right, mate, nice one," you know what I mean? It's a bit early for a wind-up. This is about my fourth or fifth day on the spin. I'm getting a bit tired, you know. And he turned around and he's just grabbed me by the hand, and he grabbed me by the head, and he just kissed me right on the forehead. And I was like, "Keith, seriously, mate," you know. And he went, "That's it, it's serious, you've got it." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." But then the adrenaline started to kick in a little bit, and I was like, "Have I?" And I looked in the net and I went, "Yeah, it's a big common, but it's got the little nick out the bottom of its tail, and its tail lobe." And got everything ready, got the mat sorted and the tripod out, and the cameras ready and everything, and gave someone else a bell to come around and do a bit of video as well. And they've appeared, and I rolled the net down, and as I picked it up, I thought, "Oh blimey, yeah, that is big."
Yeah.
And I still didn't realise, and I was in a complete world of my own. Put her on the mat, and Keith said, "It's the peach, it's the peach." And I just went, "I've got to see the tail." So down the mesh, and then a tiny little nick out the bottom of his tail, and I was like, you know, it's just,
Plus, yeah, I mean,
just like, oh,
the
my
other-
life. You
the
know?
other good giveaway with the peach common is, as Colin said, yeah, you got the nick in the tail, and it is that bottom lobe of the tail is a peachy colour. It's very distinctive compared to the rest of the Sutton fish. It's almost like an orangey sort of part of the lobe. So at that point, mate, it was like you've got your target fish on the mat. So
it was it, and yeah, it was just the adrenaline just kicks right in then, and you're just away with the fairies a little bit, and you know, it's it had come so quickly into the start of this season, and I wasn't expecting it, but you can't pick your time, so when they turn up, you've got to revel in the moment.